Welcome back to episode 7 of my City Skylines 2 Let's Play series. For today, our city planner Frank Abagnale went to our founder James Smith and said, James, we are a successful city when it comes to business and transportation, but we are missing tourism and missing out on tourism dollars in our city. So for today, we are going to bring tourism to the town of Stamford. Let's get started. So welcome back to Stamford. The first thing we'll do is go over to the tourism tab. You're going to see things that are highlighted in green on the map and light blue. That is where our tourism is in our city. Now on the tourism tab, you're going to see we have an attractiveness of 92. We have 7,026 tourists each month, and then an average hotel nightly cost of $632. I was just in Boston, Massachusetts, and that is some big city prices right there. So City Skylines 2, what do they have to offer for tourism? They have landmarks that have a Ferris wheel. They have the Notre Dame Church. They have a Grand Hotel and a few other options. Then you can go over to the tourist attraction tab. We have the CN Tower, or the Observation Tower. We have the Bronze Statue, which is the Statue of Liberty, and the Medieval Castle. Now you're gonna see here on the screen in front of you that our downtown area is very landlocked. So what we're gonna do is we are going to use some eminent domain and some soil. We're gonna move over some soil and create piers. Now what piers are is it can either be solid land or it could be a wooden pier that will come out, jettison out of our city, like coastline, and it was used for ships, where ships can dock and bring people in and out of the city. So often you see in big cities like Ferry Line. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using the land tool. I hit right click on our city downtown area, and then we're going over the ocean area. Now what we're trying to do is we have to use a makeshift pier because obviously in City Skylines 2, these were not a part of the base game. So just some simple using the landscaping tool just to create that land. Now, if it looks lumpy and bumpy, don't worry, we're gonna fix that as we keep building our City Skylines 2 piers for tourism. So we come out here, you're gonna start to see here that I'm going to add a single lane road. And what we're looking for is we're gonna try to go between 44 and 45 units out with the length. Then the width, you're gonna see here, we struggle a little bit. We're looking for a width of about 21 to 22 units. I don't know why the landscaping tool just did that. That was very weird. But what we'll do is we'll just add more land because, well, our road would have been in the water. So now that we're at 20 to 21 units across, what we'll do is we will loop it right back up to our coastline and to our downtown area so we can have people coming in and out of our pier area. So now what you want to do next is please do not move all of the dirt, and not just yet. Don't remove all the dirt next to the roads just yet. What we want to do is we want to build this up. We want to add our parks. We want to add our tourism area just to make sure that, you know, everything is a-okay before we remove the dirt. So next, you're going to need the extra landscaping tool, which is a mod. And you're going to see here, we're adding queue walls to the outside parts of our road. And what you'll see when we remove the dirt is you're going to see that there's a queue wall there, and you're going to see the stonewall queue walls, and it looks really, really good. But for now, please do not remove any of the dirt just yet along the walls because you need to be able to build things in it. So the very first thing is obviously the observation tower. I was just in Toronto, Canada. The CN Tower is absolutely beautiful, and it is a tall building. But for this part of our build, I actually want to take something from the downtown of Chicago, actually Chicago, Seattle, I believe London also is what's called the London Eye. So the Ferris wheel in my eyes seems like a very prominent thing to have on a pier. And, honestly, it looks like a fantastic landmark. So what I would like to do next is I want to place a pedestrian road right next to the Ferris wheel so we can make this the idea of these piers is make it a pedestrian friendly area. And obviously a pedestrian road, people cannot drive on it. So next, what I thought would be a perfect fit was the large plaza. Like, look how awesome, like the width of that is fantastic compared to other plazas or parks in our city. So what we can't do here is it's uneven number of tiles and squares wise. So we just eyeballed it as best as possible to even it out, which is unfortunate. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use the City Skylines 2 Anarchy mod. And what we'll do is we are going to add paths in and out of that plaza just to make it more walkable. Like I said, walkability on this pier is key. If you've watched or looked at any other piers in the United States, walkability, that's all you want to do. So next, what I'd like to do is bring some low density commercial buildings to this area. So, people can go shopping. That's the whole point. They can have fun and go on the Ferris wheel and visit, be a tourist, and then come to a shopping area or come to a restaurant. We'll see obviously what pops up when our commercial does render, but you do want things to do. You don't want just that Ferris wheel there and then, all right, that's done. Our tourism is done, the end. Anyways, all right, what we'll do next is I will add some taxi stands in front of our Ferris wheel, then in front of our tourist area. So then this way, hey, our tourists can come in and out of our city via taxi cab. I mean, it is doable, especially in City Skylines 2. Very, very, very doable. Next, what I'll do is I'm going to bring in a couple bus shelters. So then this way we can bring in a couple bus lines to this part of the pier. And so tourists can actually get there. I think in City Skylines 2, I think we all understand that tourism is key in this game. And as you can see here, I just dragged a bus line over and added the bus stops to the bus route. We know that transportation is king in this game, and definitely adding buses and adding taxis are the best way to go. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to start detailing. You can see here that on the screen in front of you that we have our paths, but it looks extremely, extremely bare. So let's start using the Anarchy tool. And what we'll do is we're just going to add these bushes, which I love it. You can make it a fence, and just adding these extra little bits to this area just looks absolutely amazing. So this Anarchy, it's the line prop tool to add these bushes and trees easier. It just looks so much better filled in. It just looks more complete. There's more to it. And I guess detailing wise, I know it's just adding trees, but overall it turns out really, really, really nice. I like how it looks. And some of these commercial buildings are perfect for what we're looking for. Now, maybe not that one on the corner because, well, I'll eventually delete that, to be honest with you. I'll get rid of it eventually because it kind of doesn't fit the vibe, but the rest of them do fit the vibe of what we're looking for on our pier. So pier number 1 is pretty much complete so far. This is everything we want on the pier and more. So detailing wise, everything looks good. So now remember, we added those queue walls. So what we'll do next is we are going to right click in the ocean and we are going to drop the sea level of the additional land we didn't need. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. You can see right there, there is the queue wall right there. And I paused it for 2 seconds so you can see, hey, there is the queue wall, and all of this is going to look absolutely amazing. Remember how I told you that lumpies and bumpies don't matter? Well, when we're taking away the land from the ocean just to make the pier, just to actually be able to look at the pier, it created a very rectangular look, and it doesn't look gross at all. Ooh, besides that corner, there we go. We're fixing up the corner, but it looks really, really nice. This looks sharp in our city so far. So I'm very happy about that. It looks good. I'm a big fan of that. So far, so good. So our Ferris wheel area, part of our city, Skylines 2 City, so far, so good. All right, now let's go to the second pier. So what we're gonna do next is I identified this part of our city where I'd like to add the second pier, and we'll do the same exact thing we did for pier number 1. We are going to right click and just bring out the land this way. And we're going to try to get the same size the same size pier we had prior. So the same size pier was a 44 or 45 unit by 21 units here in our city. So again, don't worry about the lumpies and bumpies. We are going to fix that as time goes on. Don't be too concerned about it, honestly. So let's start building our road layout for pier number 2. As you can see here, we are going to fit, it's going to be 45 units. And then we'll do the same thing with the other road below, just to make sure everything is even and symmetrical. There we go. And then what we'll do next is we will close it out and make sure it's 90 degrees. You can see here, City Skylines 2 was struggling with that 90 degrees. But anyways, everything is A-okay. Now I understand that pier is angled differently, but I was just, I'm okay with it. I will allow it because, well, essentially we're just going off the current road layout. So we're just extending out the same roads. So everything looks good so far. Now what we'd like to do is, when I was in Toronto, Canada, so the baseball field is overshadowed by the CN Tower, or in City Skylines 2 terms, the actual observation tower. So what we're going to do before we build the observation tower is I'd like to build a little park area that has, all right, we have our football field, which is American football, not soccer. Then we built a community pool. Then we're just going to add a couple more parks to make it a really desirable area for our citizens and tourists to visit. Obviously, if you know anything about American football, you know that fans come in to each, opposing fans come from cities all the time. So what I'm trying to do now is you're going to see here the City Skylines 2 road tool was not, you can see here, it was not clicking on the node. And so I had to make basically a road based on 2 different clicks. So now this is going to be our park area. And what I'll do is we have our football stadium. We're going to add a couple tennis courts, and then we're going to add a basketball court. Eventually you can see here, outdoor gym or basketball court, either or, just making it a more desirable place. Now that we have that in place, what I'll do is I'm going to quickly add in some of our paths and just make sure everything is all straight and looks really nice. There we go. Everything looks really orderly so far in our pier number 2. So now that pier number 2, we have all of our sports. Like I said, in Toronto, Canada, the observation tower kind of hovers over the baseball stadium. So in this situation, it's going to hover over our football field, and they're going to have a great view. Whoever's on top of that tower will have a great view of football. But I will tell you, the CN Tower is huge, so I don't know how great you'd see things. So behind that, what we would like to do is make sure we're adding parking to one of our piers, because downtown parking, if you've ever gone to a major city in like New York City, Boston, London, you're going to notice that parking is A, extremely expensive, and B, really hard to find. So what I decided to do was I added a parking lot. The American in me added a parking lot, and I did add another park in front. So what I'm going to do, place down that small plaza. What I'll do next is a little bit of detailing with the paths, just to make sure that, again, we're trying to make it look good. It's not going to be perfect because this is City Skylines 2 and we don't have many assets, but with the paths and the trees and whatnot, we are going to make it as good as possible. So again, using the prop line tool, part of City Skylines 2, yes, City Skylines 2 does have the prop tool. So we did that. We're going to use the prop line tool again for the bushes and whatnot, and add more trees. I just like how all the bushes outlining our paths. I just love how that looks. I think it looks really, really nice. It's really, really good. It's a nice touch just to make your city look a little bit, just a little bit better. Next, make sure we add the quay walls to the outside portion of the roads. You can see here, I'm being very careful about it because, well, we don't want to add the pier on the inside and then flood our entire pier number 2. All right, we have all of that in place. This is starting to look really good, by the way. I'm loving these piers. I love the additional land that it brings. So now what we'll do is we have our quay walls in place. What we're just doing is more terrain editing and making sure that the land, we're just getting rid of the extra land that we don't need. And again, another really nice looking rectangle that we really didn't have to worry about lumpies and bumpies, and it just made everything go so much faster. So before we had mods, those piers would have taken probably an hour each to build, and I did it in literally a matter of seconds. So it's looking good, honestly, looking very good, looking sharp, and we're just making sure that all of those edges, we get rid of the land, make sure we don't actually get rid of land on the pier itself. So far, so good. Things are turning out fantastic. If you do have a little bit of flooding, that will eventually level itself out. It's just because we did a lot of terraforming and we got rid of a lot of land. So our first 2 piers look absolutely fantastic. I love how symmetrical they look. I just love how everything fit really well together. For our 3rd pier, what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring in the ferry services into our downtown. And so that's why this 3rd pier that we built in the city is more towards the downtown, because we want people, if they're coming, a lot of density lives downtown. What I mean by that is the taller buildings have way more people living in them than the smaller residential buildings. So what I'm doing over here is I'm building out another pier. Now, something to keep in mind when you are building ferries in City Skylines 2 is that, well, the ferry station itself is humongous. So what I tried to do to start out is I built each of these piers the same way, the same distance out. It was about 44 to 45 units, give or take. As you can see here, I did not make this one long enough to actually build. So what I'll do is, oh, there we go. We fit in 45. Hey, look at that. Okay, I thought that wasn't going to fit, to be honest with you. Anyways, what we'll do next is we need to make sure that this pier fits. So again, you go over to the ships tabs, and it's not a pier, it's called a harbor. So you can see how big it is. Yeah, that is pretty big. And right now we can't build on it, but what we'll do is we're just sizing it out to see how much longer, because you can see there the the blue halo is where the boats are going to come and go in and out of the harbor itself. So there we go. All right, so let's extend that out a little bit. Again, nothing too crazy terraforming wise, just expanding out our rectangle. Again, don't worry about the lumpies and bumpies. It honestly does not matter at all. So there we go. So now that we have our road in place, what we'll do next is just complete the grid to make sure that there's enough room. And there you go. We did not have, what in the world? Why does the landscaping tool do that? You right click and magically it goes down. Anyways, whatever. We're expanding out our pier, which is completely okay because we'll end up fixing this and we'll narrow it down as time goes on. But as you can see here, we just completed the pier. There you go. Wow, that one's 49 units, but you can see here that it is on a slight diagonal. So anyways, all right, we have our pier in place. It is definitely larger than the original one. So go over here, and this is the harbor. So it is a passenger terminal. Passengers mean we can get ferries in and out of the city relatively fast. So you can see here, you have to build it on the water. And as you can see here, it's kind of being weird here in City Skylines 2, because how much water does it actually need? So I am fiddling around with it, but eventually I do get close enough where I can click on it. So there, yeah, you can see here, the struggle is real. So anyways, we remove some of the land or like the earth underneath it. And there we go. We're able to easily click it. There is our amazing harbor. And it does look cool. I will say it looks cool. I do miss the old school ships in City Skylines 1, but you'll see exactly what I'm talking about shortly. So there's our harbor. Let's click on it real quick. And you can see here, we can add an extra pier, which we're going to upgrade that right away for 100,000. Then next, we're going to add the transit terminal, which will bring buses and taxis to the harbor itself. So basically, hey, there is a bus station and a taxi station right away, which we don't even have to add, it's just an additional part of the building, which is awesome. We don't need to add its own bus terminal. What we'll do is we'll bump up that parking fee to the maximum amount of 50. Next, we need to connect a medium seaway to our harbor. The reason why it needs to be a medium one can handle more than one ship on the seaway at a time. So I didn't think going straight out was too realistic, especially when you're in a boat, because you can't really make those turns. So what I decided to do was I kind of made them just left and right turns, kind of like an on and off ramp into a highway or just a road connection. It felt a little bit more natural. So what we'll do next is each of the ferry lines will go in, it'll have an outside connection, just like our airplanes and our trains. I moved one to the left and then one to our right. So again, we have just different ferries coming in and out, and that's pretty much it, because those were the only two outside connections to our city. So everything here is connected for our ferries. Soon we're going to get ferry ships coming in and out of the area. So far so good with pier number 3. Now let's get into building up the pier itself. So obviously, just like our previous 2 piers, we want to make sure that there's entertainment here where people will actually want to come and visit. Now, if anybody has known me and my channel, you're going to notice that I once in a while will post videos from cruise ships. So what I've learned from my excursions going to different cruises is cruise terminals have a couple things. There's always a parking lot, which is absolutely, I know you're going to be like, well, you're an American YouTuber, blah, blah, blah. No, parking lots are definitely part of the cruise ship terminal because people come and go on these ships all the time and people need a place to park the cars. So what we'll do next is, all right, there is our parking lot. We'll add a pedestrian road right there. We'll just try our best. It's kind of weird how sometimes the road connections will not do a full 90, but in that situation, the pedestrian road worked perfect. But yeah, definitely, I'm okay with adding parking lots to our cruise ship terminal. What I would like to do next is there was another landmark that I really like. Not the Notre Dame Church. The National Gallery of Art was way too big. The one that I settled on though, it's slightly too big. But the one that we settled on was this building right here. And I don't know how to pronounce this building, but just take a look at how nice a building this is. So let's just look at it. It's another observation tower, which I'm completely okay with, completely fine with. So what we need to add on top of that is just more parks and more detailing, but I'm okay with having 2 observation towers, especially one that's right next to the cruise ship port, because if you're going to the observation tower, maybe you don't have enough time. Honestly, maybe you don't have enough time in your day to actually get to the CN Tower and your cruise ship's going to leave. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be left at port. So anyways, what I wanted to do over here was I did add a parks and recreation building over here. So it's a park depot. The reason behind that is we do have a lot of parks over here in our downtown area, and they need to be able to get and make sure that everything is okay reliability wise. Next, we have some of our sidewalks, and we're going to add some of our commercial buildings. Again, cruise ship terminal, there's definitely, oh my God, there's definitely a lot of small commercial buildings. So there's definitely a lot of shopping in a lot of these ports. So that's what I'm doing right here. Obviously in City Skylines 2, we don't have tourist buildings yet in this game. So I'm doing the best I can overall. Next, once all those buildings are building up, what we'll do is we'll just do some minor detailing with some of the paths, which look absolutely amazing. Then we're going to queue all up our entire pier just to make sure everything looks all right and dandy and everything looks good. I'm a big fan. So passenger ships, you can see that they're connected. They're just like other transportation. You have your ticket fee, you have the number of vehicles, you can see the length, you can see how many stops, you can see pretty much everything you want. One of our ship line 1 can be red, which is fine. Guys, in the comment section below, how much are your ticket prices for City Skylines 2? For like the buses, the ship lines, like how much do you actually charge per ticket? Like I feel like $8 in real life is not enough, and 25 seems pretty realistic. So I'm just wondering, just seeing if I'm way out there. So now that we have all of our buildings in place, we need to start detailing it up. So like I've done for the previous piers, you're going to see everything speed up a little bit. I fast forward rendered this part, but I love using these bushes and just boxing everything out, just making it look more appealing with all of the bushes like this. Like it looks so much better. So using the prop line tool from the City Skylines 2 Thunder Store, definitely worth getting. It's free. Definitely worth it. Just look how easy it was to add all of these trees. And it took literally like 2 seconds to do this. And it looks so much better. Ooh, and we were able to add one more commercial building. All right, so there's, we have a crash, but there's our cruise ship building, or excuse me, our cruise ships. You can see here, they're really ferries. They're more so ferries than cruise ships. I miss the old City Skylines cruise ships, but whatever. All right, finally, right before we finished up everything, I did add a 4th pier just for, essentially I just added residential and stuff like that. What I'm doing next though is key to this whole build. Is I am raising the level of the dirt in our ocean. What that does is you can see here, the shallower sand makes it look like the Caribbean and gives it a light blue, which looks so much better. So guys, here is the end result of our tourism and ferry build. You can see here, we're going to hit that tourism tab and see that our attractiveness is maxed out at 227. We have 17,453 tourists. We started out with 7,000, so we gained 10,000 tourists. Holy cow, that is amazing. Then, as you can see there, the average cost of a hotel is $650. So our tourism is definitely going to bring some big money to our downtown area, which is absolutely amazing. You can see our piers are just glowing with green. So that means very attractive for tourists to come and go. And this whole build turned out amazing. Like I couldn't have asked for anything better with this build. It's just super amazing how everything turned out just overall. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to go through, just slowly go through what we added to each of these piers again, just to show you what it exactly looks like. Like you can see here, the different level of sand or land with that, light blue look looks really good in the sunlight. So I'm very happy I did that. Actually, extremely happy I did that. You can see here the observation tower or the CN tower. You can see here that it has an attractiveness of 58%. And you can see here, employee happiness, 18%. Sick employees, which is kind of weird. I don't know how to change that, but anyways, the 58% attractiveness is building efficiency, forest proximity, which is not even close to the forest, beach proximity, which we don't even have a beach, and then terrain height, which is flat. So I guess if we put that observation tower on top of a mountain, things would look way better or would work way better. Anyways, whatever, it's all good. So you can see here, people are coming to our community pool. Now, what I missed in City Skylines 1 and City Skylines 2 is you can see how many people were actually visiting these buildings, but in this situation, you can't. And it kind of bums me out because I would like to see how many people are actually on our piers. Now, you can see here our parking lot maxed out. Perfect. That's awesome, actually. I love seeing a full parking lot next to our observation tower. That means people are actually coming here. You can see here the small commercial buildings just look absolutely amazing with our detailing and stuff like that. Definitely these piers are worth adding to your overall city. So far, so good. Now let's go to the second pier. Now this is where I'm going to come and just vent a little bit about City Skylines 2. So again, we're at the Ferris wheel. You can see employee happiness plus 16%. Now the problem is this Ferris wheel cost me $560,000 a month, and I can't even tell you or show you exactly what it does for my city. Now you can see here, the building efficiency, 16%, forest proximity. So what do these exactly mean? Now the lack of maintenance will get fixed because I did add a park depot in our third pier. So we will have that maintenance be fixed. And you can see here, what a beautiful view of the city with our Ferris wheel, but this is where things get interesting. Okay, we see the Ferris wheels moving. You can see we have a beautiful view of our downtown. Now when we zoom in, here's our low density commercial buildings, which is fine. We'll call those the tourist buildings. Everything's filled, but my issue is, where are the people? Where are the people using that Ferris wheel? Like at least in City Skylines 1, we knew that 20 people were visiting in a month or whatnot. But like here in City Skylines 2, there's one person. Oh God, there's literally one person in that entire Ferris wheel area, and that's it. There's not even a person on our pedestrian path. Like there's nobody even in our parks. Like I understand City Skylines 2 has some ways to go, but I'd just like to see people move around. You know, we have a bazillion people walking around our downtown, but yet we have nobody visiting our tourist attractions, which kind of bums me out. So here is our fourth pier that I did not record on camera. I just added additional residential areas, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. Now here is our ship. Yep, there's our passenger ship. Perfect. And you can see here we have 36 people out of 2,800. Wow, that is barely filled. Wow, that's like next to nothing. But overall, this looks good. I'm a fan of it. I think things will fill in. You can see here we have bus lines coming. We have taxi lines. So we have 3 bus lines coming in, and whoa, you can see that there's a long line of buses on the screen in front of you. But overall, I think more people will be using the ferries shortly, just because I think we're gonna have people come from buses and use the parking lot and whatnot. Yeah, you can see here, this parking lot is not very busy. Well, the other parking lot was jamming, and this one, not jamming. Not so much. But anyways, it's all good. So this pier looks awesome though. I do like the harbor pier. It looks good. The passengers, you can see here it's a very large parking lot, has security to it. So that would be very realistic on a cruise ship terminal. So very cool. That building that I could not name, Nasalinula. I don't know if it's Finnish, so I did not pronounce that correctly. But anyways, that observation building looks amazing. Again, $480,000. So it's like, how do we maintain? I don't know. How do we make money in this game when we have 3 buildings costing $1.5 million in our city, which is a lot of money when you think about it. But whatever. It makes everything look nice. Maybe we'll turn off the buildings. I don't know. But you can see here again, the attractiveness, everything has positive, it's all plus 20%, give or take. And, our low density commercial looks great. So this build is awesome. And look at all those buses. Holy cow. We are going to have a huge line of buses, but that's okay. Again, we want people to come in and out of our ferry line. And there is our park depot. Again, remember, it was our Ferris wheel that was not properly maintained. So we're hoping as time goes on, that fixes itself. All right, guys. So that is our tourism and ferries here in City Skylines 2. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. But overall, very, very happy with this build. So please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. This was episode 7 of my City Skylines 2 Let's Play. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.